Welcome back to Pike and Lustig TV, where we put people first. I'm your host, Ike Anderson. This show is all about bringing you closer to the attorneys behind the titles, who they are, what drives them, and how they show up for the people and businesses they serve every day. At Pike and Lustig, we pride ourselves on being more than just a law firm. We're a trusted partner in the community, built on relationships, expertise, and real human connection. Today, I'm joined by Dominique Torsiello, an attorney here at Pike and Lustig who brings a unique blend of business litigation expertise and deep roots in the equine world. Dominique represents clients across complex disputes, from breach of contract and business torts to intellectual property and equine-related matters. What really sets Dominique apart is her lifelong passion for horses. As an equestrian, she's developed a level of discipline, focus, and presence that directly translates into how she shows up for her clients, grounded, strategic, and fully engaged. She's also had an impressive journey, with experience in high-level transactions and litigation, including work in Washington, D.C. on major energy projects, before returning to Pike and Lustig to continue serving clients with that same level of excellence. Dominique, welcome to the show. Excited to dive into your story. So, are you from Virginia originally?
No, I'm actually from New Jersey and Florida. Spent like equal parts of my life in Jersey, grew up in Florida, and now I'm in Virginia.
Okay. Where were your earlier, say first 10, 15 years spent?
My elementary school years were in New Jersey, and then middle school, high school onward has always been in Florida.
Okay. So you got to escape snow for some time?
Yeah, and now I'm back to the snow.
Yeah, that's funny. Does it snow in Virginia? A lot?
It's not supposed to, but This past winter was really rough with that ice storm. So
I see.
Hoping we're free now.
Awesome. So if you were to think back, Dominique, on your childhood, if you could take us back just a little bit, where did you grow up and what originally led you towards becoming an attorney?
I'd say I grew up in Florida for the most part, just because middle school, high school, undergrad, college, all in Florida. What led me to becoming an attorney was probably my parents, because it was you have to go to college. You can't just ride horses and have fun for your whole life. So I've always been interested in reading, writing, and it was just like a natural progression towards becoming an attorney, because my mom always said you weren't allowed to complain about anything unless you were willing to change it. So law just kind of seemed like the best way to change everything I wanted to complain about.
Yeah. So were you into horses? It sounded like you were into horses when you were younger. Are you still into horses now?
Yes. A lot of my practice, I do business litigation, but I also do specialize with equine litigation, just because Florida, we have so many horse sales and horse-related disputes, and I still have 3 horses at the moment.
Oh, really? How long have you had horses?
From these 3, the longest I've had was 6 years ago. I had a horse throughout my teen years up through undergrad, and then of course, you're paying for school, college, and he had, grew older, unfortunately passed away. And then I had a stint where I just rode whatever anyone was willing to let me ride. Yeah. And then finally saved up enough to get my own again. And then the herd just keeps growing.
Yeah. So when you were younger, when you said you rode, what exactly was that? Were you jumping or were you racing or what polo? What specifically?
No, I do show jumping. As a kid, you grow up in the hunter equitation and then you age out of that. And I moved over to show jumping. I did a little bit of eventing, but came back to strictly show jumping.
I see. So did you enter any competitions or shows and place?
More so? Yeah, so more so while I've been an adult, because, my parents, middle class, I worked at the barn to make for the horse. So we didn't have the money to be showing on the A circuit. And then as I've gotten older and, the expenses come towards me and I could spend my money how I want, I started doing like the A circuit showing, and I took this season off just because one of my horses had an injury. And we'll get back to it.
Yeah. So when you were younger and you, I guess you had to go in the barn and earn,
Yeah.
to what was that like, and what would you do?
After school, every day I would go to the barn. I would muck out the stalls, do the cleaning, take the horses in, out, basically anything that needed to be done. I would do just so that I could help offset the cost of board for my horse. But
Yeah.
I love being around horses. So even though it would be like work, so to speak, it really wasn't for me.
Yeah. How old were you when you started that?
14.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, did you have a time when you didn't like doing that anymore, or did you just really enjoy taking care of the
No,
horses and being
I
there?
still have 2 horses. 2 of my 3 live at home. So every morning, every afternoon, I'm out there mucking the stalls, cleaning, taking up after them.
Yeah.
Um, so
Did you learn any lessons, you think, when you look back on that 14, 15-year-old version of yourself doing the work and getting your hands dirty, so to speak, to support
I
and help?
think I think it's a level of responsibility, and I think people that have animals or any pets, even like dogs, cats, whatever, they can speak to the fact that you're responsible for another life that isn't like it can't defend for itself. It can't, feed itself. It can't do all these things. So that's a responsibility and a burden that you bear, that you need to make the best decisions for that animal. And I think, even when we unfortunately had to make the decision to put down my older first horse, like
Mhm.
it's a decision that's a hard decision, but it's the correct decision and like the loving decision. So I think having horses and any animal, you really have a level of responsibility that you wouldn't be able to get anywhere else.
I see. I see. Yeah, definitely. I can see that and how it
Mm.
makes that connection. Is there a connection for you with how you grew up and taking care of the horses and jumping? I think there's a dedication that has to go into that, right? And a
Yeah.
commitment. Do you see a connection between how you grew up and the things you had to do versus, with being an attorney now and the type of work that you do?
I can see like first just to get through law school, get into law school, all those
Mhm.
years of schooling, it does take dedication. But I also think there's a level of grit involved because there's not going to always be that like easy day where you think you know what's going to happen, but there's always curveballs being thrown at you. The same thing with riding horses, like they
Yeah,
have a mind of their own. They can make their own decisions that might not be necessarily what you would hope that they would make. So always learning to like roll with the punches and having the grit to persevere through each obstacle is
right.
really akin. It's the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. It's kind of hard not to imagine, but have you ever fell off a horse? Like really
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah. I've been riding since I was 6, so I have fallen off plenty of
plenty of
times.
times, man. That's
Yeah.
that's a long high fall though. Like that's
I guess, but I mean, the ground's only so far away. It's thank God, thank knock on wood. I've had some serious falls, but obviously I'm still riding and able to. So that's the best
yeah.
part. As long as I can get back on.
Yeah, it reminds me of what my grandmother always said. Like, we never rode horses, but she
Mhm.
would say, "If you fall off the horse, get back on it and get going."
Exactly.
Like, yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds easier said than done, but
Yeah. I mean, they won't say this anymore, but back before Safe Sport was instituted, which is a program through Congress that's supposed to protect youth athletes. Before that was instituted, the trainers would be like, "You either go to the hospital or you get back on. There are no
really,
two. Like, get back on or go to the hospital. There's no in between."
wow,
So, yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah. Now I don't think they would get away with that kind of method anymore, but before.
Yeah, definitely. Was there a specific moment or experience where you realized law was the path you wanted to pursue?
I don't think it was a specific experience, or I think it was more of a culmination of events of knowing what my strengths are, which is reading, writing, analysis, and then knowing that really one of the driving causes of why I wanted to get into law was to affect change with animal welfare legislation and put more safeguards in place for animals. So that really is what guided me into law school to hopefully be able to do that one day.
Mm, yeah, I could definitely see that. So you feel a deep passion for advocacy for animals, it seems.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely.
Okay. And I would assume it's mostly horses. That's where the passion lies. Or
No,
for
I'll
following.
advocate for the full gambit. When I was a law clerk, while I was in law school and clerking for the Animal Legal Defense Fund, we had cases regarding farmed pigs, like roadside zoos, things involving wolves. Like, I'll do the gambit, any creature.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to know there's an advocate out there that's looking out for the care of all
Mhm.
animals. Yeah,
Yes.
that's cool. So is that the type of work or cases that makes you feel more fulfilled?
I think every case has a fulfilling aspect. If you want like the warm fuzzy, then of course, yes, it's going to be like the animal advocacy. But like every case has a sense of fulfillment because when you're dealing with me, I do a lot of business entities.
Mhm.
But there are people behind those business entities. So when you can handle their issues or manage their risk, that's just a sense of fulfillment in and of itself.
Mm, I see. I see. So people often see attorneys in a very specific way. What do you think people misunderstand the most about attorneys?
I think that they presume that every attorney is very argumentative and aggressive, but a lot of the work isn't that courtroom drama show where you're up in the attorney's faces or the witnesses' faces yelling. Like, that would never happen. And if it does, you're going to be sanctioned and there's going to be issues for you as an attorney. But a lot of it, we're really trying to look out for our clients and manage their risks. So it's a lot more analytical and not so like suits based as the TV show shows.
Yeah, because that's I mean, without understanding, you kind
Yeah.
of have a perception based on television.
hmm
Yeah,
Yeah. As exciting as it would be to have to deal with that or to be allowed to make such crazy like statements towards witnesses, it's not something that's actually going to happen in real life.
gotcha. I see. What do you think is something that you would like to do that you see on TV if you're in a courtroom that you probably wouldn't normally do today?
I think like the fact that they just ignore the rules of evidence and you don't have to actually properly authenticate and get your evidence admitted. If we could just forget that and just do whatever we want with whatever evidence, that would be, not fair, not just, and definitely not what we should do. But it would be nice to just forget the rules of evidence for, a minute.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Got it. What's something about you personally that most clients would be surprised to learn?
I think that I'm a big do it myself type of person. If I need something, I really do a lot of DIY because I'm like, okay, if someone else can do it, granted they're a carpenter or a plumber or an electrician, I'm like, I can do it. So I do a lot of DIY and,
So when you
I
say DIY, are you like building a cabin or are you building a table or like
I've I mean, I completely renovated like our work shed into the barn that I have two of my horses in. My fiance and I did that ourselves. We've built the fences. I mean, everything from like dealing with the tractor and, changing the oil, anything I can like save money on and do it myself. I'm going to give it a try. And then I will eventually learn where it's like the money I saved was not worth the time and effort it took. But normally I'll try it at least once to do it myself.
do
Yeah.
you get frustrated after you're done? Like, probably shouldn't have done that.
Building the fence is the most frustrating thing because living in Florida, everything's sand. So you put a post in and it's going to go in the ground. But up here in Virginia, it's clay. And so, I mean, we've had the tractor drill bits get stuck into the ground for like 2 weeks. We can't get them out. Building the fence is the most frustrating thing. Um,
Yeah.
but it's almost done. It's been a while, but it's almost fully done. You
one
know,
one post at a time.
literally one post at a time.
That's funny. What originally attracted you to join Pike and Lustig?
So I actually learned of Pike and Lustig because I did jujitsu with Mike Pike. So we would literally be grappling one another, and then learned he was an attorney. I was like, oh, I'm an attorney. And he told me about the firm, went through the interview process and ended up joining the firm. But I really like the fact that even though it might be considered like a mid-sized, small to mid-sized firm, you're still getting the work product and the attention to detail as if you were in big law, except without the big law price tag.
Yeah.
That really attracted me. And then I went and I had moved to Virginia due to fiance's job. And then after, 4 years of being up here and working in DC, I had called Mike again. And I was like, hey, I think I'm going to be coming back to Florida. I really want to come back. And so now we're in my second tenure at Pike and Lustig.
Awesome. Awesome. So you're a do-it-yourselfer or a writer and a
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu practitioner.
Yeah, not so much jujitsu as much as it was back when I was before I had my horse, but now the horses just take up too much time to be able to do everything I'd like to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. How would you describe the culture at the firm?
I think it's very collegial. If the questions and the issues we're analyzing, it's not, you have firms that might do the same type of case over and over and over again.
Right.
It's not that kind of firm. We're not just bringing in as many cases as we can just to push the numbers. So I like the fact that it is collegial. You can ask questions. Daniel, Pike are great to talk to. Talina, you can go to any of the attorneys, really open door. But also I like the fact that we're really analyzing more critical, complex questions than some of the other small mid-sized firms that you would deal with.
Okay, gotcha. Do you guys usually look at each other's cases and give different perspective and
Oh,
things of that sort?
absolutely. Yeah, I think the more eyes, brains you can have on an issue, we're always talking to one another on cases that we might not be technically assigned on, but there
Mhm.
might be an issue where, I've been doing a lot of RICO lately. So if one attorney has a RICO aspect that we would collaborate on, or any equine case that comes through the door, I get put on. So,
They're like, call Dominique.
yeah.
Okay, awesome. So when a client comes in and walks in the firm for the very first time, how do you want them to feel?
I want them to feel a sense of relief, knowing that now they're with a firm and with a group of people that can handle the issue or obstacle, challenge, whatever that they may have in a efficient and effective manner. So I want them to feel relief, okay, this is a terrible, frustrating issue I have, but now I'm in the right place with the right people to have that issue handled.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if you were to design your ideal client, um, who is that person or that company or entity?
Oh, I was gonna say it might just be an animal. My ideal is gonna be something with fur would be my ideal client. So
That is funny.
yeah, that's the ideal client.
Okay, okay. But they can't talk though, so how are you, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But
Yeah.
they can't talk. But it's the same thing with if you had to represent kids.
Yeah.
They might not be able to fully express what they need or want, but what's proper. But
Mhm.
also, who doesn't want to hang out with a puppy or a cat or a bear or something? That would be a fun client to have.
Yeah. Sounds, yeah, and very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you think back on your years of practice, there's a sense of a lot of emotions that get into things before, a case comes in or,
Mhm.
things that happen. Um, if you were to think back, like what are some of the biggest mistakes people usually make before contacting you?
Before contacting, it's definitely that they either sign something without having a lawyer review, or they started a business or started some sort of venture that they didn't have an attorney involved with the formation because they thought, oh, well, we're friends, we're family, we're never going to have any sort of disagreement, we're always going to have each other's backs. That's not really the case. And so even if you are friends, best of friends, if you're getting into business, always consult with a lawyer to get those formation documents, the operating agreements in place so that both parties' rights can ultimately be protected. Because I don't care how good of friends you are, at some point down the line, there's going to be a dispute.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So the idea is to definitely have that outlined of how would we address issues or disputes before it happens and having that documented
Right.
and clear.
Of course. And I know a lot of people kind of balk at the idea of like, oh, hey, we have to pay for just paper and we are having no issues now. But like, I promise you, paying for the attorney up front is going to be less than the cost of litigation on the back end when you didn't properly paper your business or whatever. If you could have like an equine lease, it'll cost you less to pay the attorney up front than it will be on the back end when you're trying to fix whatever the issue is.
Hmm. Hmm. I could definitely see that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen where there were partnerships or things done? I mean, you do this every single day, but someone could have definitely made a better decision and gotten themselves in a really tough space.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when we talk about equine litigation, because a lot of horse people, it's a lot of gentleman agreements, or if we are using a document, it's something that like legal, Rocket Legal, Legal Zoom, whatever it is,
Sure.
created. And it's not like tailored to that specific issue or that specific business. So there's big gaping holes, even when you might have put something in paper that an attorney, if you had used them, would have identified those risks and managed them.
What about some of these online platforms, Dominique, that automatically spits out just a generic contract or agreement, so to speak? Um, like, what's usually the best route dealing with that? Is it just doing that and having the partnership done, or does it make sense to still take that to an attorney, or just have the attorney take care of it? Obviously, it'd be the best way, right? But have you seen
Right.
where a lot of people do the templated stuff and it doesn't work?
There are some templates available. Like if you're going to form a LLC in Florida on Sunbiz, like there are, okay, you fill out the name, the registered agent, those kind of forms. Yes, that's like what you're going to use. But when we're talking about the actual operating agreements that are controlling the entire business relationship, that's not something I think you can get through AI or through a website with a form. Sure, fine, it could be like a base template, but it's not going to be addressing the specific laws in the state that you're in, the specific concerns of your industry. There are a lot of factors to take into consideration that I don't think AI is yet capable of doing,
Mm,
because there's plenty of litigation surrounding AI or attorneys that have relied upon AI and they've hallucinated case law or they've hallucinated the law. So now you're relying on this document that's been generated on a false premise that isn't actually in effect.
mm, gotcha. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what's one thing you would want everyone that's listening right now um, to hear from you or to learn as it relates to using technology like AI or some of these templated type products that's available right now? What would you suggest for them today?
AI has its benefits, and I think its benefits are in analyzing data. I don't think it is in risk management or addressing the situations that you have, because AI isn't going to come with the questions that an attorney would have. If you're telling me you're creating this company and it's going to operate in this industry, we're going to know to ask specific questions that could create issues, so to speak, that we need to address
Right.
in the underlying operating agreements. AI is not going to prompt you for those questions. So they're not going to be able to draft something that is going to adequately protect your interests. Um, yeah, AI has like its benefits, but it's not at a point yet where it's going to replace attorneys, which, I know a lot of people are like, AI is replacing our jobs. It's
Mhm.
not replacing mine anytime soon.
Mm,
And like, if it gets to that point, I welcome it. I'll retire, but it's not there. So don't rely on it, um, because it will hallucinate and tell you things that are not accurate whatsoever. Because certain platforms, especially, are playing off of what like your personality is, what your questions are like,
that is
and it's
true.
going to tell you. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's going to tell you what you want to hear.
that's so
Like,
true.
trust me, if I ask it a question, it's like, that's such a great question. I'm like, it's really not, but like, thank
Yeah.
you for the
Yeah,
compliment.
that is true. It's a part of the algorithm. It's actually skewed towards your personality and what you want to hear. I've seen too.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So I guess at the end of the day, even if you use it, always consult with an attorney just to
Yes.
dot your I's and cross your T's, make sure everything is covered.
Yeah. Because if you're trying to create whatever entity, you use it for whatever purpose for an agreement, there's so many little nuances and agreements and certain requirements under the state law that you're operating in that, like, I don't want to use its name, but the AI isn't going to consider, it's not going to think about, it's not going to question and prompt you. So just always, I would consult with an attorney. And I still say, like, what you pay consulting the attorney on the front end to get your documents in order will save you tens of thousands on the
On the
back
back
end
end.
if you end up in a dispute.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
What's the most rewarding moment you've experienced as a lawyer so far?
Hey, don't know what is like the most rewarding. I think
Or
every
one of your
like
most rewarding moments that you
um
experience?
I think anytime we get a win for our clients is always rewarding. If it was going to be a like the most, I think I worked on a case while I was a clerk, so I was still in law school, that used the Endangered Species Act to argue that a roadside zoo, like the animals that were there and they weren't being taken care of in a sufficient manner, was considered a taking under the Endangered Species Act, so that those animals could be removed from that basically squalor conditions.
Mhm.
So I think that's rewarding because you're able to help like remove an animal, a creature that wouldn't have been able to have any say over where it's at,
Yeah.
and just be able to move it into more of a sanctuary situation.
Yeah. How long did that process take you from start to finish working?
I came in I came in when we were at like a summary judgment stage and I was like assisting with the research. So it took years. And I know after I had gone back to school, it had been appealed, it had come down, and it's like still standing. So, I mean, it was going for years upon years.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
What motivates you to keep doing this work every day?
I think the complexity and the different like brain puzzles, I guess you can say, the things that you need to solve and to be able to help our clients, manage the issues that they're having is what really motivates.
Yeah. Do you have any daily rituals or activities that you do to keep yourself in that elevated state to stay motivated and to, keep showing up every day and doing the work?
Yeah. Well, I take care of the horses every day. So I'm always like hanging out with them in the mornings, hanging out with them in the evenings. I think like having the animals around, at least for me, is like a very calming. Okay, I'll take that back. Sometimes the horses add absolute chaos to the mess. So sometimes they're not always calming, but like their presence is always nice to
Sure.
have. And then I think that just helps like being able to, see the sunlight, go outside, touch grass. Like some people just get honestly like locked up away and then just keep going and going and going until they burn out. But I think you have to be able to take a step back and, literally experience life. Like it's
Yeah.
it's serious, but you gotta keep in mind what we're doing and what your focus is. And I think the horses always help keep me sane to a point. Sometimes they push me over the edge to insane, depending on the horse and the day. But they really help. And then sometimes I just yell out as I'm like in the shower and I scream into a towel. I'm just like, and then feel better.
Yeah, really.
So if you want to call that a ritual,
it is.
Go for
it keeps you centered. It keeps you connected. It's a part of your process. That's awesome. I think my daughter does that.
Really?
Yes. I hear her. So I'm like, you okay?
Yeah, just scream into a towel and you're like, and it's like not anything has to be bothering me, but like just makes you feel better after.
Yeah, just releases the endorphins and the tension.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone that's listening to us right now, who's probably going through some rough legal issues at this moment? What advice would you give them?
First, I would say obviously reach out, like see how we can help, see, whatever firm you reach out to, have an attorney in your corner. Second, don't destroy, alter, or delete any of the records you currently have relating to that issue. Keep your records. You don't need to destroy evidence.
Yeah. And from a mindset perspective, what would you say to them about how they stand in that place of dealing with a legal issue?
Okay, so I'm probably a little bit rougher around the edges on this, just because how, I was always taught to like walk it off, and I've walked off broken bones throughout my childhood. So like, yes, it's a frustrating situation, but you need to have people in your corner to take part of that frustration or like that burden away from you, which, your legal advisors can do, support a family and friends, but also you need to just keep things into perspective. Like, even if the absolute worst case scenario happens in this dispute, which if you use us, like we're going to try and avoid that at all costs. But even if something terrible happened, you're going to wake up the next morning. You're going to keep moving. You're not losing friends. You're not losing like family members. Like you're going to be okay. The world's going to keep going. It's going to be rough. Like you're going to feel like the world is ending, but tomorrow the sun's going to come up and you're going to keep it on. But, so I don't know, try to keep things in perspective is really my advice, which sounds probably harsh, but it's
very practical and applicable. Ladies and gentlemen, Dominique Torsiello.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's amazing. But thank you for being on the show, Dominique. I think really learning about your life, dealing with horses and animals in general, like that is, super important work that you do, because you're defending and representing and advocating for beings that don't have a voice. And
that's kind of like my pet project, if you want to call it that, where it's like really like the pro bono advocacy and the community outreach that Pike and Lustig is able to do. And then, my core practice remains the business litigation and equine litigation, especially because we're in South Florida where there are an abundance of equine disputes. But yeah, the animal welfare stuff I try to do as much as I can.
Yes, absolutely. And it goes without saying, you're an amazing attorney from what I've heard from everyone at the firm and from what I've seen, in the work that you're doing. So I appreciate you being on, and thank you for being so, vulnerable and transparent with us today.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
If you receive value from this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow Pike and Lustig TV for more insights. Connect with us on social or visit pikelustig.com to learn more. And remember, this is for informational and entertainment purposes only, not legal advice. If you need help, reach out to a qualified attorney. We'll see you in the next episode.